Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 901A, and today's date is February 23rd, 2016, and the title of the episode is Hope Collapses as 1 in 4 Americans are on the verge of their own economic collapse. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Let's head out to Greece, and we know Greece, they're having a huge amount of troubles. Everything the central bankers have done has not helped the country. It has not helped the people. Right now, the IMF and the Greek government, they have decided to cancel the bailout program agreed in 2012. Not because, they don't need it anymore. What they want to do is they want to introduce a new bailout program that will basically work with the European bailout program. So basically, Greece is going to be getting more debt, and the people are going to suffer. Pensions will be cut, and the situation in Greece is going to continually get worse as time goes on. And as we know, many of the private Western Central Bank countries, they're all starting to feel the pain of this global slowdown, of this economic collapse of the entire system. We see Canada just maybe 2 years ago was like the poster child of, look how great everything is. Canada is booming. Look at the real estate. It's fantastic. Australia, incredible. Very low unemployment until we figured out that they fixed the numbers, just like the U.S. does. But now we're getting more information coming out of Australia that things are not as good as they seem. We're starting to see that in Australia, which, by the way, has the highest household debt in the world, homes are so expensive that nearly half of all mortgages are interest only. Well, this is going to be a problem. And the reason why is because they've been bringing people in to the mortgage arena with loosey-goosey lending terms. Now, we've seen this here in the United States, and they're doing the same thing in Australia. And this is a red flag for imminent disaster. Jonathan Temper, CEO at the research firm Variant Perception, he's saying it's not a question of if, but when they have a mortgage crisis in Australia, it's going to be horrific. This is the guy who predicted the mortgage meltdown in the U.S., Ireland, and Spain. And he said the one word that best describes Australian housing market is it's completely insane. And there's going to be major problems down the road. He said the flood of interest-only mortgages with sky-high price-to-income ratios is a sign of a Ponzi financing. And now banks are heavily exposed to these mortgages. And any downturn in prices, it's going to be a complete disaster. And they're already estimating, and they're already seeing a downturn in prices. They're expecting next year or later in this year that prices are going to plunge by 25%. So those people who are out there now in Australia thinking that everything is fine, the domino effect will occur and it will hit each city and things will come down very, very quickly. And like I said, these things seem to spread very quickly. Look what happened in the housing crisis back in 2008. One day everything was fine. Central bankers were telling us it's fine. Governments were telling us it's fine. And the whole thing fell apart in a matter of months. And it spread very quickly to all parts of the United States. It happened in Canada. It happened in Europe. It was a complete and utter disaster. Here in the United States, well, hope has collapse. Now, what's very interesting, we have two different boards or surveys that record consumer confidence. We have the Conference Board Consumer Confidence, which is supported by the government, which is in line with the government. Then we have the Gallup poll, which is the people poll of consumer confidence. What's very interesting is the Conference Board Consumer Confidence, well, that number has now dropped. It went from 97.8 to 92.2. This is the weakest since July of 2015. Now, the Gallup poll is much, much lower than this. And we see that consumer confidence is contracting right now. Because think about this. Why would they lose hope at this point? Why wouldn't they be confident in the economy? Because if you really think about it, we have very low gas prices. The government is telling us how great unemployment is. It's down 4.9%. The stock market is pretty much at all-time highs. So why in the world are people nervous? Because they know in their gut, they know that something's wrong, especially those people that are getting laid off, especially those people that never found another job, especially those people who are working 2, 3 part-time jobs because they can't find the job. So we're seeing consumer confidence is hovering near a 3-year low right now. And at this point, we see 1 in 4 Americans, they're on the verge of financial ruin. This is coming from Bankrate.com. Of more than 1,000 adults, which were surveyed, nearly 1 in 4 Americans have credit card debt that exceeds their emergency fund or savings. And many people don't have any savings at all. Many people don't have jobs which allow them to make it through each month. And we see right now that this is a huge problem because one little hiccup in the system, these people are in complete disaster. And everyone, it looks like, 1 in 4 Americans, I should say, they're teetering on the edge of financial disaster. They're in their own economic collapse. And this is going to spread to more and more people as time goes on because we're seeing layoffs pick up. We're not seeing them slow down. And we're starting to see the restaurant industry, it's declining, so they're not going to be hiring waiters, waitresses, bartenders. The foot traffic in these places are starting to slow. Retail is continually laying off, closing up shop. So where is everyone going to find these jobs? It's going to get harder and harder. Now we see existing home sales all of a sudden skyrocketed in January, where they're like, oh my God, look at this. Home sales are doing perfectly well once again. But then we have to look a little bit closer at what's been really going on. And guess what? It is not the American people. It's coming from hedge funds, investments, and foreign investors. Now remember, the stock market had dropped quite a bit. People got nervous. They took their money out of the stock market and they started placing that money in other places, gold, real estate, and many other areas. And most likely this is why we've seen a surge. But we're not seeing a surge from the everyday American, because right now, those people, especially those people coming out of college, they can't find jobs. They have too much debt. And at this point, they can't save any money. But what's very interesting, and we've been talking about this for quite a while, we've been talking about housing prices. And I looked around the country today, and I see many houses on the market. They're not selling. The prices are coming down. And many people write into me saying, well, in my area, everything is fine. House prices are going up. We don't see the housing prices coming down. Look, even the corporate media, Case-Shiller, they're showing us that housing prices are continually rising. Well, remember, they're always 3 to 4 months behind what's really going on. I'm looking at things real time today. And it takes a little while for them to catch up, because already we see Case-Shiller finally saying in December, actually starting in October, moving into November, going into December, guess what? Housing prices are falling. Case-Shiller's home price index missed expectations month-on-month growth, slowing from 0.96% to 0.8%. Year over year from 5.83% to 5.74%. Miami and New York saw prices drop. We've seen this before. Yes, there are still cities that prices are going up, and we saw this back in 2007 going into 2008. Prices were coming down in New York. Sales were incredible in Florida. California was falling apart. New York was fine. We are starting to see what is happening here. It's losing momentum. The bubble is popping. But don't worry. The bankers have come up with other plans because they're starting to realize they're running out of ideas and bullets to keep this system alive. Now we know Freddie and Fannie, they came up with the 3% down. We know a lot of home builders are paying for closing costs 0% down. A lot of banks went to 0% down. Well, Bank of America is now partnering with Freddie Mac on yet another scheme that will allow borrowers to get homes with loans as little as 3%. But the difference here is, guess what? They're getting rid of the mortgage insurance. So we can see they're getting rid of that cost, which will make it easier to get a mortgage. Payments will be lower. And they're doing whatever they possibly can to get more and more Americans into the system. So, of course, this means a greater percentage of low down payment mortgages will end up being guaranteed by Freddie. Well, this is going to be a problem. It seems like we're heading down the same exact path as once we did back in 2007, 2008. They're doing the same exact things. We see manufacturing dropping once again. The Richmond Fed manufacturing, the survey dropped to -4. They were expecting a +2. Completely missed. This is the weakest in over 3 years. And we see this is the biggest drop in new orders. So manufacturing is down in the dumps. The Baltic Dry Index inched up by 2 points to 318. It's very interesting how people are out there, the corporate media is out there saying, oh my God, the Baltic Dry Index is up for the 6th or 7th consecutive day. Well, if you do 1 point a day, is it really that great? I mean, before it was dropping 16 points, 20 points, 10 points, 5 points. Here we're seeing it move up 1, 2, 1. And most likely this is going to drop once again once those ships come online. So is this a recovery? No. It's bottom bouncing right now. Trying to figure out what the new normal is. So nothing has changed here. We're in the same exact position. We're already seeing 4 states who've entered a recession. Alaska, North Dakota, West Virginia, Wyoming. 3 states are moving into the same direction. Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and other states are on their way. What we're seeing here right now is the entire system falling apart. Now, of course, the government has their own manipulated numbers. They have the stock market. They have their manipulated unemployment. They have their manipulated inflation. They have manipulated everything. But what we're seeing right now is that their manipulation, their illusionary numbers are separate and apart from what's really happening in the economy. And the economy's falling apart right now. It's accelerating. And when I say accelerating, I mean it's moving further and further away from what the government is telling us. And as time goes on, the government won't be able to explain any of this. Why are their illusionary numbers completely different from all the strip malls being closed, housing completely falling apart? Because remember, the government will not admit there's a problem, even when there is a problem. They'll point their finger at some other area. So whatever you're doing, continually prepare yourself for what is coming, and that is a major collapse. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.